consultancy. I hope you're doing well. It's always been a wonder to me why the NHS battles so much with demand and capacity modelling. It's a wonder to me how in particular acute providers struggle so much with the plan to meet patient demand. More than 80% of the organisations that I've worked with in the last 10 years or so have needed specific support around demand and capacity modelling. And in some ways there's a big question as to why, since a number of those organisations had actually already undertaken demand and capacity modelling themselves. So what I found is that even though those organisations have previously undertaken demand and capacity modelling, when they reflect or look back over a month or a quarter or a year, they are not delivering the levels of activity that they expected to or need to. The volumes of patient appointments, diagnostic tests, procedures, etc., are just not right based on what they were expecting or the cost incurred. It just doesn't make sense. So why does this seem to be a problem only for 80% of organisations? What is it that the other 20% are getting right? Well, in this video, I'll give you my thoughts. Well, firstly, I can tell you that it's really not anything specific about the type of modelling tool the organisation is using. So whether you're using a free tool that might be quite administrative and manual focused in terms of data entry, or you're on the other scale of using paid for software, which is highly automative. Actually, that's not what I found is the key reason why there's this mismatch. What does matter though is one really quite important element that those 20% of organisations seem to be getting right, and that is absolute agreement between managers and clinicians of what capacity is going to be provided and how that capacity is going to be utilised. So the what and the how. Look, this isn't a video about the intricacies of demand and capacity, but I do want to make sure I share with you what are those successful organisations, so that 20%, what are they agreeing between managers and clinicians that are getting them to deliver successful demand and capacity plans. So number one, session start and finish times, not just for the consultant, but also for their team. We know just the impact of a late starting session and what that could mean in terms of a patient being cancelled at the end of a list because of overruns, the inconvenience to that patient, the amount of effort and energy that will need to go into rebooking them, and also the capacity that would need to be found to rebook that patient. So none of that good. Number two, this is going to sound really obvious, but the number of appointments in a clinic or the number of procedures on a particular list. Now, again, like I said, it sounds really obvious, but having that really clear both for the lead consultant and for members of their team makes a massive difference in terms of understanding what capacity you're really working towards. And more important than that, taking it one step further, is benchmarking that against good practice. So actually how close to or exceeding good practice are the number of cases or appointments that your clinical team undertake on a list or in a clinic. And then finally, a little controversial, but really important for us to have these challenging conversations, which is what will the team do if there is a shortfall in the amount of activity delivered? Will they be picking that up as part of business as usual, absorbing it into core activity, or will there be an expectation of payment for those extra sessions? Really important that those conversations happen up front so that there's not this last minute trying to wrangle waiting list initiatives to try and get activity levels up right at the end of the year or the end of that period. So these are 3 really quite simple but important elements that will help the demand and capacity plan be real and be implemented in a way that will deliver the expected level of activity. So, a question for managers: are these routine conversations and agreements that you are building with your teams? I'd be very interested to hear what other agreements you have in place or believe that should be put in place. Please like and give your comments below.